The mirror of truth. 2 tests that reveal who we really are. Do you really know the people around you? Or do you only know the masks they wear? Right now, someone close to you, maybe someone you trust completely, is hiding their true nature behind carefully crafted words and perfectly timed smiles. They've mastered the art of showing you exactly what you want to see. And here's the most uncomfortable truth of all. You're probably doing it too. But what if I told you there are only 2 moments in life when these masks inevitably fall away? 2 tests so revealing, so unavoidable, that they strip away every pretense and show us the naked truth of human character. Today, we're going to explore these tests, and by the end, you'll never look at people or yourself the same way again. Because understanding these tests isn't just about reading others. It's about awakening to the mirror that life constantly holds before us, reflecting back not just who we are, but who we're becoming with every choice we make. The great illusion of appearances. Think about the last person who impressed you. What was it that caught your attention? Their eloquent words, their polished appearance, the way they carried themselves with such apparent confidence. Now, let me ask you something deeper. How much of what impressed you was actually real? We live in a world of masterful performers. Social media has turned us all into directors of our own reality shows, carefully curating each scene, each caption, each interaction. We've become so skilled at projecting the versions of ourselves, we want others to see that we've almost forgotten who we really are beneath it all. But here's what Alan Watts understood so deeply. The universe has a way of revealing truth, despite our best efforts to conceal it. Nature doesn't lie. A tree doesn't pretend to be taller than it is. A river doesn't claim to flow uphill. And deep down, beyond all our sophisticated masks, human nature has its own way of revealing itself. The question isn't whether people wear masks, we all do. The question is, when do these masks inevitably slip? When does the performance end and authentic being begin? This is where our 2 tests come into play, like cosmic moments of truth that no amount of preparation can help us fake our way through. The first test, how we treat those who can give us nothing. Picture this scene. A successful businessman rushes through an airport terminal. He's polite, even charming, to the airline staff who can upgrade his seat. He's respectful to the security officer who controls his passage. But watch closely as he interacts with the janitor mopping the floor nearby. Does he acknowledge their existence? Does he say, "Excuse me," as he walks around them? Or does he look right through them as if they were invisible furniture? This is the first test, and it reveals something profound about human character that no interview, no conversation, no public performance ever could. How do we treat those who have nothing to offer us? Those who can't advance our careers, boost our social status, or provide us with any tangible benefit. Think about the waiter serving your table, the cleaning person in your office building, the elderly person struggling with their groceries in the parking lot, the homeless individual asking for spare change. These interactions are windows into the soul because they strip away all motivation except one: basic human decency. Have you ever noticed how differently some people speak to a CEO versus a cafeteria worker? How their tone changes, their posture shifts, their very energy transforms depending on who stands before them. This isn't just social climbing, it's a revelation of values. It shows us whether someone sees human worth as inherent or conditional. The person who treats the powerless with the same respect they show the powerful is revealing something beautiful about their character. They're showing us that their kindness isn't transactional, their respect isn't strategic, their humanity isn't for sale. But what about those who fail this test? What about those whose kindness seems to have a price tag, whose warmth flows only toward those who can warm them in return? Are we to judge them harshly, or is there something deeper we need to understand about this pattern? And here's where it gets personal. How do you treat the person who can do absolutely nothing for you? Be honest with yourself for just a moment. But if this first test already reveals so much, wait until you understand the second one, because this one is impossible to fake, and nobody can escape it. The second test, who we become in crisis. Now comes the second test, perhaps even more revealing than the first. Imagine hot water being poured over tea leaves. The heat doesn't create the tea's essence. It simply reveals what was already there, waiting to emerge. Crisis works the same way with human character. When life hits hard, when we lose a job, face illness, experience betrayal, or watch our carefully constructed plans crumble, something profound happens. The social scripts we've memorized become useless. The personas we've crafted feel suddenly irrelevant. In that moment of raw vulnerability, who do we become? Some people, when struck by crisis, become bitter. They lash out at the world, blame others, and carry resentment like a trophy of their suffering. Others crumble inward, becoming victims of their circumstances, trapped in stories of powerlessness and despair. But then there are those rare individuals who meet crisis with a different energy. They don't deny their pain or pretend it doesn't hurt. Instead, they face it with what we might call dignified acceptance. They ask not why me, but what now? They don't become cruel in their suffering. They become more compassionate because they understand what suffering feels like. Think about someone in your life who has faced genuine hardship. How did they respond? Did their crisis reveal hidden strength or expose weakness? Did it make them more closed off or more open-hearted? Did they use their pain to understand others' pain? Or did they use it as an excuse to cause more pain? This test is so revealing because crisis strips away our ability to plan our responses. We can't rehearse for a heart attack. We can't practice for betrayal. We can't prepare for the phone call that changes everything. In these moments, we meet ourselves without any filters, and who we meet is who we really are. So let me ask you directly, when life hits you hard, when your plans crumble, when people disappoint you, when nothing goes the way you expected, who do you become? Do you lash out or look within? Do you blame the world or take responsibility for your response? But here's what makes this observation so profound. We're not just passive observers of other people's tests. Every day, life is testing us too. And there's something even deeper happening here that most people never realize. The mirror of life. What we see in others, we see in ourselves. Have you ever noticed that the things that irritate you most about others are often the very qualities you struggle with in yourself? This isn't coincidence. It's one of life's most elegant teaching mechanisms. When you find yourself critically judging someone for being selfish, ask yourself, where does selfishness live in your own life? When you're annoyed by someone's dishonesty, look deeper. Where do you bend the truth to serve your own comfort? When you condemn someone's weakness, examine what fears make you feel vulnerable. This doesn't mean all criticism is projection, but much of it is. The external world becomes a mirror, reflecting back our own unresolved shadows, our own unintegrated parts. The person who triggers anger in you is often showing you something about yourself that you haven't wanted to face. So when we apply our two tests, observing how people treat the powerless and how they behave in crisis, we must remember that we're not separate from this observation. We're part of it. Every judgment we make about others is simultaneously a question posed to ourselves. How do you treat those who can do nothing for you? Really, how do you treat them? Not how you think you should treat them, or how you want others to see you treating them, but how do you actually behave when no one is watching and there's nothing to gain? And when your own crisis comes, when life tests your character in ways you never expected, who do you become? Do you grow more generous or more stingy, more trusting or more cynical, more connected to others or more isolated? The answers to these questions might surprise you. But before you judge yourself too harshly, there's something crucial you need to understand about how character actually works. Patterns. Not perfection. But wait. Before we fall into the trap of harsh judgment, either of others or ourselves, we need to understand something crucial. Character isn't revealed in single moments, but in patterns over time. Everyone has bad days. Everyone has moments when they fail these tests spectacularly. The kind person sometimes snaps at the waiter. The strong person sometimes crumbles under pressure. The generous soul sometimes acts selfishly. This is not hypocrisy. This is humanity. What reveals character is not whether someone occasionally fails these tests, but what their overall pattern looks like. Do they generally treat service workers with respect? Or is kindness the exception? Do they typically handle stress with grace? Or is emotional volatility their norm? Think about your own patterns. Not your worst day or your best day, but the rhythm of your daily interactions, the general tone of how you move through the world, the typical way you respond when things don't go your way. This is where truth lives, not in isolated incidents, but in the consistent thread that runs through your choices. This understanding brings both relief and responsibility. Relief because it means our occasional failures don't define us. Responsibility because it means we can't excuse patterns of behavior as isolated incidents. But here's what's fascinating. When you start looking for patterns instead of isolated incidents, you begin to see something incredible about human potential. And this changes everything about how we should approach both ourselves and others. The wisdom of time and patient observation. Real character observation requires something our fast-paced world often lacks: patience. We want to know immediately if someone is trustworthy, if they're genuine, if they're worth our time and energy. But character reveals itself slowly, like a photograph developing in a dark room. Consider the colleague who seems wonderful in meetings, but treats the support staff dismissively, or the friend who appears strong and wise until their first real crisis reveals a tendency toward blame and victimhood. These revelations don't happen overnight. They emerge through countless small interactions over months and years. The wisdom here isn't to become suspicious or cynical, constantly testing people and waiting for them to reveal their flaws. Instead, it's to develop what we might call conscious awareness, the ability to notice patterns without rushing to judgment, to observe without immediately categorizing people as good or bad. This patient awareness serves us in two ways. It helps us make wiser decisions about who we trust and how much we trust them, and it teaches us about the complexity of human nature. Most people aren't simply good or bad. They're intricate combinations of strength and weakness, generosity and selfishness, courage and fear. What if you approached your relationships with this kind of gentle, sustained attention? What if you watched not just for people's failures, but also for their growth? What if you noticed not just when they disappointed you, but when they surprised you with unexpected kindness or strength? This kind of patient observation reveals something beautiful about human nature, but the most powerful discovery happens when we turn this same awareness toward ourselves, and that's where real transformation begins. The path of personal transformation. Now comes the most important question. How do we use these insights not just to understand others, but to transform ourselves? If these two tests reveal authentic character, then they become our roadmap for development. Every interaction with someone who can't benefit us becomes a practice session in unconditional human respect. Every crisis becomes an opportunity to choose who we want to become, rather than simply reacting from old patterns. But transformation isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming conscious. It's about catching ourselves in the moment when we're about to look through the invisible person instead of seeing them. It's about recognizing when crisis is triggering our old defensive patterns and choosing, even if just slightly, to respond differently. Think about this. What if every person you encounter who can't do anything for you, the cashier, the parking attendant, the person asking for directions, is actually a teacher, offering you a chance to practice being the kind of person you want to become? And what if every challenge, every disappointment, every moment when life doesn't go according to plan is actually life's curriculum for developing authentic strength, genuine wisdom, and real compassion? This isn't about judging yourself harshly when you fail these tests. It's about recognizing these moments as sacred opportunities for growth. Each time you catch yourself treating someone differently based on their perceived status, you're being given a chance to make a different choice. Each time you feel crisis triggering old reactive patterns, you're being invited to respond from a deeper, wiser place. But can people really change their fundamental patterns? Is transformation actually possible, or are we all just stuck with who we've always been? The answer might surprise you. The beautiful paradox of change. Here's something profound to consider. The very act of truly seeing these patterns in ourselves and others creates the possibility for change. Not forced change, not change born from self-criticism or judgment, but organic transformation that happens when we simply see clearly. People are not static. The person who fails these tests today might pass them beautifully tomorrow. The individual who treats service workers dismissively might have a moment of awakening that transforms how they see human worth. The person who crumbles in crisis might develop resilience that surprises everyone, including themselves. This means our observation must hold space for the possibility of growth and change. We can see patterns clearly without condemning people to be trapped by them forever. We can protect ourselves wisely, without becoming cynical about human potential. Perhaps the deepest wisdom is learning to discern without arrogance, to see clearly without losing compassion, to make wise choices about trust and relationship while keeping our hearts open to the possibility that people can and do transform. How would your relationships change if you held this kind of wise, open awareness? If you could see people's current patterns clearly, while also holding space for who they might become. This brings us to the most profound realization of all, one that changes not just how we see others, but how we experience every single day of our lives. The world as your mirror. As we come to the end of this exploration, let's return to where we started, the recognition that life is constantly holding up a mirror, showing us not just who others are, but who we are in relationship to them. Every person you encounter today will unconsciously test your character. The driver who cuts you off in traffic, the stranger who bumps into you without apologizing, the friend who doesn't return your call. Each interaction is asking, who are you when things don't go your way? The elderly person moving slowly in the grocery line, the child having a meltdown in the restaurant, the person struggling with language barriers. Each encounter is asking, how do you treat those who can't serve your agenda? But here's the beautiful truth. Recognizing these moments as tests doesn't make life transactional or calculating. Instead, it makes life meaningful. Every ordinary interaction becomes an opportunity for consciousness, for choosing kindness, for practicing the kind of human being you want to become. The greatest discovery isn't learning to judge others by these two tests. The greatest discovery is recognizing that life is constantly inviting us to pass them ourselves. Every day offers countless opportunities to treat those who can't benefit us with genuine respect and dignity. Every challenge offers us the chance to respond to crisis not with reactivity, but with wisdom. This is how we transform not just ourselves, but the world around us. One authentic interaction at a time, one conscious response to crisis at a time, one choice to see the humanity in others at a time. The mirror of life reflects back exactly what we bring to it. When we approach others with judgment and criticism, we live in a world that feels harsh and condemning. When we approach others with curiosity and compassion, we discover a world that's more forgiving and full of possibility than we ever imagined. So tomorrow, as you move through your day, remember, you are both the observer and the observed. You are both the judge and the judged. Every person you encounter is offering you a chance to practice being who you really want to be. The question isn't whether others will pass life's tests. The question is, when life tests you, and it will test you, who will you choose to become? If this perspective shifted something inside you, if it made you pause and really look at your own patterns with honest eyes, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Share your experience. Maybe your story will help someone else see themselves more clearly too. And if this conversation resonated with you, if it opened up new ways of thinking about the people in your life and your own character, please subscribe to this channel. We dive deep into these life-changing insights every week, exploring the questions that really matter for living with greater consciousness and authenticity. Hit that like button if this made you reflect on your own two tests. It tells me these conversations are valuable to you, and it helps more people discover these ideas that can truly transform how we see ourselves and others. Remember, life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. Every interaction is a choice, every crisis is a teacher, and every person you meet is both a mirror and an opportunity for practicing unconditional human respect. Thank you for joining me in this exploration, and for being willing to look honestly at these deeper truths about human nature. Until next time, may you see clearly, respond wisely, and treat everyone you encounter as if they matter, because they do.